So my Republican critics sometimes accuse me of being overly partisan and only supporting Democrats no matter what. And you know what? They might have a point. But guess what? I've got good reason for that position. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So we have a great example of how Republicans actually have kind of forced our hand here a little bit. I mean, take the example of Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, the two female Republican senators who are supposedly abortion rights supporters. Collins in particular faced a pretty aggressive challenge in the last election, which she held off in part by being able to point to the fact that she voted no on Amy Coney Barrett's appointment to the Supreme Court. They claim, of course, that both of them were told by these judicial nominees that they believed in the sanctity of what's called stare decisis, basically reliance on precedent. And in both cases, they were told by the proposed justices that they believed abortion was settled precedent, settled law, and really wasn't subject to change. Of course, they forgot all about those commitments as soon as they were on the bench in the Supreme Court, right? But when you look at the facts here, it's a little more insidious. I mean, even if Joe Manchin had voted no on proposed legislation to codify Roe v. Wade across the country and protect the right to abortion on a statutory basis, if Collins and Murkowski were really serious, they could have joined with the Democrats, who then would have had enough votes to at least carve an exception into the filibuster rule to allow the passage of this legislation in particular. And yet, when it comes to actually doing something to protect abortion rights, Collins and Murkowski are no-shows. Again, with the only exception being Collins when she was actually facing a pro-choice challenge in the last election. Now Collins, of course, is going to be in for the next 5 years, and so she doesn't see any need to demonstrate to her constituents that she actually is pro-choice. Something that probably matters to the moderates in Maine who overwhelmingly support abortion rights. Collins came out with some kind of lame excuse about how she wasn't voting for this legislation that would have codified Roe versus Wade because it was designed to fail. And then she claims that she was supporting other legislation and that she was open to negotiations. Well, all of that, of course, turned out to be a smokescreen, all a lie, as we could call it, where basically Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, the two Republican women senators supposedly committed to choice on the abortion issue, were not there when it really counted. And that's the problem. All too often here we're told by Republicans, oh, we're really moderates. And then they turn out not to be. They turn out to not care at all about the issues that they gave lip service to while they were campaigning. I mean, consider what happened in Virginia, where you had supposedly moderate Glenn Youngkin play kind of a culture war light when talking about children's education. That was the problem with the attacks that were laid on him, that he was just another Donald Trump. Guess what? He didn't look like Donald Trump. He didn't sound like Donald Trump. So people didn't believe those attacks. But how has he governed? Well, he's gone as hard right as you can go. Gutting environmental regulations, opposing gun rights legislation, all things that the overwhelming majority of people in Virginia support. Not surprisingly, then, his favorability rating has dropped, where Virginians feel that they were kind of sold a bill of goods. And that's the point, which is that even when they try to tell us that they're being moderate, that we can trust them because, of course, they're pro-choice or they're pro-environment. Yes, they may be Republicans, but not all Republicans are the same. Well, guess what happens then? They all behave the same. And so while I pride myself on the fact that I listen to alternate points of view, and I will frequently question my commitments, and I see quite a bit of nuance and wiggle room, actually, in policies that, sometimes our partisans take too extreme one way or another. But when it comes to who to vote for in this day and age, you don't have a choice. Because the Republicans have become so right-wing now and so authoritarian that even when we elect Republicans who claim to be moderates and claim to support things like choice and abortion, as soon as they're in office, they're going to turn their back on you. Well, while we're talking about the moderates, why don't you check out this other video over here that I posted a little while ago, talking about how Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski and the other moderates are basically just messing everything up. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.